Hi, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA today with MMA Fighter Colby Thicknesse, one of Volk's teammates at Freestyle MMA, Windang, New South Wales. Chatting about the upcoming fight, April 24th, UFC Fight Night, Lemos versus Andraj. And also want to have a look at the fight between Tyson Pedro and, I don't know how to say it, Ike Villaneuva.
Nailed
So
it.
yeah, I don't know if it's Villanueva, I don't know, no idea. Hey, so jumping straight into the main event. Once again, there's two weeks of not really high profile fights. Like when they're not after the last UFC 273, it was a massive one with Volk. It's kind of dropped back. A lot of people not showing much interest in these two fights. But again, I had a look at this one, Lemos versus Andraj, and I think it's probably another one that could actually be a potential good fight.
Yeah, definitely. I think they both have the styles to make it into a sort of a fan-friendly fight sort of thing. Like they both got good finishes on their records. They're both tough. They're both durable sort of thing. They're hard to put each other away in over 25 minutes. But girls are normally, I think it seems a bit fitter over that 25 minutes in the main event slot. You don't see them gassing out as much as some of the sort of like bigger weight divisions in the blokes, say like a heavyweight main event or stuff like that. The girls normally get after it a bit more. So I think we can expect a good fight out of both of them.
It's interesting to see the record. Like first thing that springs to mind is Andrade is a lot more experienced. She's fought some of the top echelon of her divisions with 31 fights, man, versus 13 fights. That could be a big difference for her. She's faced the best of the best. She's been in there with some top people, Shevchenko, Nema Yunus, Jung, albeit she lost to those guys, but still she was in there, and she also hurt Nema Yunus the first time with a big body or head slam onto the neck, trying to break her.
That was brutal, eh?
Versus Lemos, she's really not fought that many people, although she fought Angela Hill, who was an up and comer, and a few other people. And Angela, when she fought Angela Lee, she had some vicious sort of shots, man. So I don't know. She's an up and comer, but she's actually a little bit older than Andraj, so it's kind of weird.
Definitely is. I think the biggest factor is, like you said, is going to be that experience. Because, like, if you look at Andra's record since 2015, she's only lost to people who's like fought for the belt or who was champions. So, like, she's only losing to like pretty much like in the women's, pretty much like the top three girls in her division, sort of thing. So it is a massive step up. Lemos is
The part that makes it exciting for me looking at their records, they're both like KO specialists. Like that's
exactly right.
That's their main way of winning. So you got to think they're going to come in both thinking that they're going to win by KO. So it makes for two like strong styles, like headbutting in the middle of the ring. So I think it's interesting, eh?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a banger. I wonder, just trying to think. I think the problem is just Ozdra's got that experience. Sort of, she's very well rounded. Like like she can grapple very well. She's strong. Obviously, Valentina sort of ran through her, but that's just expected, to be honest. And like I said, she's only lost to the best, and everybody's else she's put in. Like, you get rid of her losses, 4 out of the last 5 fights are finishes. Like she's got a round 1 KO, then she's got the slam on Rose. Body shot to Jakagan, then knocked out Cynthia Cabello. So she's putting chicks away, which is impressive at that 125-pound weight class.
And when you watch Lemos too, she's like kind of throws single hard shots. She obviously has a lot of power. She's got a mad up kick against Angela Lee. She smashed her with an up kick in the early part of that fight. It looked awesome. And she's got a really vicious ground and pound as well. What it looked like a bit of a deficit in comparison would be, that grappling edge from what I saw up against the cage, and on the ground didn't look the same as, Andrade just seems to be a little step above her in that way. And although I think Andrade is going to be really confident in her striking against her, I think the path to victory for her would be to kind of wear her out a little bit and start engaging the grapple against the cage and take her down if she can. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's smart too, because this will be Lemos's first 5-rounder, I think, in at least the UFC. She might have fought 5. Actually, went the distance. No, I don't think she's went past like the second round really. So I think Andrade, yeah, exactly right. She's got to come out, see how she feels her out of her hands, and then she's got to start pressuring that grappling exchange and just sap her in the first couple of rounds. Then I think that's really going to sort of test her, and then I think that's when the shots stand-in might open up. Even though they will be there early, you still got to be careful and calculated. But I think the longer the fight goes and the more Andrade can make it a grind, the more it's going to favor her.
Two little interesting points about this one is Andraj. I don't know if it's Andraj. I heard someone say that. It's not spelled like that, eh? But who knows? Brazilian name.
It's hard, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. So Andraj has the most fights in UFC women's history at 20 fights in UFC. That's pretty up there, eh? That's a lot of saying a lot about her experience. And the interesting thing about Lemos is that she's previously suspended for stanozol. That's kind of interesting too, eh?
What is that, like a steroid or something?
It's a steroid, man. It's a common steroid, yeah. And she doesn't look like big, but people hold on to some of those things. It could be part of the reason she's like icing people because she's got a bit of strength about her, right?
Yeah, man. Well, oh fuck! I just looked at some of the photos from Wayne's and that. Fuck, she looks pretty jacked actually. She's got bigger arms than me. Better shoulders too. But what's it called? But that's what I don't like about it because like, even there's a guy like, have you seen that More Plays More Dates guy on YouTube? Derek, his name is. He does like all the pharmacology stuff. But he's good because what he does is he talks about like steroids and he says like how like even one steroid cycle can like have benefits for like years down the line. Like the muscle mass and the density and everything you get doesn't just really go away. So it's like a lot of like athletes, what they do before they get tested is they just like, especially in like the Brazilians and that sort of thing, they just like obviously will pump themselves full of it coming up through regionals and that. And once they get to UFC, they stop. And obviously they're not probably on it anymore, taking it, but you got all of them extra years, all extra testosterone, all the extra recovery and that can really make a difference. And yeah, well, that makes sense why she, I just see a 2-year suspension. So
also get the fucking record.
I hope she gets dropped, eh?
They're gassed up as shit, and then they're getting this mad record up while they're all gassed up too, right? Which also helps them in the UFC, which is a bit of a unfair advantage as well, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like as a fighter, like you got to learn to embrace the suck sort of thing. And I think steroids are like, obviously they still work hard and everything like that, but I feel like it's sort of like it's just a shortcut. It's like a mental weakness sort of thing. So I don't know. I didn't know that she got popped. So fuck, I hope she gets like knocked out in the first 2 minutes. I hate that stuff.
She's got a chance. She's got a chance of that happening. Both of them do. And she has to kind of like up her rate of punching. She throws single shots and that. And she also got cracked by a nice overhand in the early part of the hill round. And Andraj is kind of she loves throwing a big overhand. So yeah, she's got a chance. They both got a chance of hurting each other. And I would say that, Andraj is kind of like obviously got the advantage in the fight, but Lemos is dangerous too. Like she's got that single punch power. So it should be like a bang at a start. And they both got the chance of getting hit. They both get hit in their fight. So they're both going to land, and whose chin's going to stand up to it, especially in the first round.
Is this at flyweight or strawweight?
I believe strawweight.
What's that strawweight? Okay, yeah. So Andraj is dropping down.
Is it strawweight?
Yeah, I just checked in. So I wonder how that's going to play into it. Well, I guess you don't really want to be cut in a lot of weight if that may change a few things because you lose that extra 10 pounds and she's sort of like a pretty beefy chicken that could sort of take away from her chin and that, and also the cardio aspect in 5 rounds. So that does sort of add like a little X factor into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true, man.
I still think Andraj is just going to be too strong and too powerful. And I think like purely just based off experience, I feel like you have to sort of pick her. Just if you're looking at who she's beat and who she's lost to compared to Lemos, like it's not even really compatible without sounding like disrespectful or anything like that. Like obviously Lemos is putting people away, but she took Angela Hill to a split, which was pretty close. And you look at Andraj, she's like starching every chick who isn't like a top contender sort of thing.
A nickname? I looked it up earlier. Her nickname's the pole driver. I never heard that one before. Andraj is the pole driver, and it was from her own gym. She must just like smash everyone. Maybe her early career was like that too. But obviously, she pole drive
Rose.
Eunice, yeah, that was vicious. Oh. Look like she's gonna kill her.
Even in that rematch when she lost, she was still having success, and especially towards the later end of the fight when Rose couldn't use as much movement and stay behind a jab as much. That's when Andraj was really having a lot of success.
She started to do well.
Yeah, so I think just putting all that together, I think Andraj. I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe like a 3rd or 4th round finish, as long as the cut's not too bad and she can sort of keep up the pace and intensity. I think she's going to grind her out and finish it probably like the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah, Yeah, man, like for the final prediction for me, I was thinking similar. Andraj wears Lemos out with pressure and like fence control and gets a sub later in the fight. Like she's got a few amount of subs. She got 7 subs on her record. And I think that's probably what Lemos is a bit short on is the grappling ability. But at the same time, you know, if you look at the odds on this one, Andraj is 1.51 to 1 and Lemos is 2.51 to 1. And, you know, she's a bit of a sniper too. So me being super stupid, if I did put a bet on it, probably put Lemos first round KO just because I'm an idiot and I chase those big odds and lose. But in my head, I feel like Andraj, yeah, over the distance, like maybe pick up a sub later in the fight. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think, yeah, Andraj is going to be too strong, too powerful, especially coming down the weight class. If you do it correctly, you can maintain a lot of strength and that sort of thing. I think she's just such a physical fighter. And I think Lemos hasn't faced anything like that. And I think Andrade is going to eventually crumble her.
True. Hey, man, jumping on to the next fight that I want to talk about, Tyson Pedro from Australia versus Ike Villaneuva. Speaking of odds, Ike Villaneuva is 4.7 to 1, whereas Tyson Pedro is 1.18 to 1, which is a kind of long odds considering that Pedro's been out for so long. And Villanueva's got a massive record, although it's been pretty shit in the UFC.
It hasn't been good, eh? I'm just looking through it now.
Poor guy. The thing about him, man, like he's such a cool guy. I listened to an interview. He's such a cool guy. And just looking at his record too, he's had 31 fights, 14 first round KOs. Now, how's that, man? That's
impressive.
Pretty sick result. Hey, they weren't in the UFC, any of those fights. So who knows what the quality was. But that's just pretty sick to get that many fights. And that explains why he's in the UFC, because he's got a good chance of being a crowd pleaser, eh?
Yeah, exactly right. Putting away pain. And that's what the UFC likes to see, especially with the heavyweights. They just want to see guys who go out and put on a bang and fight. Oh, so yeah, I just saw he's 1-4.
Yeah, exactly. 1-4, not so good. Hey, Whale Rider, how are you, bro? Just saw you popped on.
If you look at the guys he's losing to, he's not losing to like terrible competition in the UFC sort of thing. Like Chase Sherman's good, Jordan Wright's, Marcin Prenchino. I haven't heard of him, but then
yeah, just one of those names in there, didn't you?
Oh, mate, I'm terrible with names. I'm just gonna call him Marcin. Then good old Nick. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that. 10-1. So yeah, I think we know what Tyson's sort of game plan is gonna be to come out with this. I think he's probably gonna try and look to engage your grappling.
Yeah.
And I think, how do you even say? Is it Ike? How do you say his first name?
No idea. Is it EK or Ike? I don't know. I'd say it'd be Ike.
Yeah. Right? I'm just going to call him the Hurricane. That's so much easier.
It is.
I think Hurricane's going to just come and try for the knockout. So I think we're in for like a good banger of a first round. But I think Tyson survives that storm. I think the first couple of minutes, I think he's going to, make it look pretty comfortable. Like I've seen him training that lately. He's done a bit of work with us. Then he's up at Combat on the Gold Coast now. And he's doing he's got good bodies. He's training hard. He's looking in shape. So I think it's going to be a good night for him.
He just came in, stormed into your gym and smashed a few light dudes and then took off, did he? Or
yeah, exactly right. He saw me on the wall. He's like, nah. No, it was good because he came down a couple of times. He has some bigger training partners, but then when the CKBs were over, so Carlos, Eugene and all that, it was down for that 2 weeks as well, working with them. So it's good. But yeah, that's a problem with our gym. We only have sort of smaller guys on the side sort of thing. So we get like a light heavyweight coming. We don't have anybody that big, to be honest, who fights.
Couple of interesting facts about him online as well. That is, his father, John Pedro, was an early cage fighter in Australia, which is pretty cool. And he started jiu-jitsu probably pushed by his dad at the age 4. I think it was Japanese jiu-jitsu, but charmed daughter, start that young, get a good base in fighting. And you see it in the way he moves, man. Like he moves super well, and he's an all-round fighter, can, really speedy for that sort of weight. He's a fast puncher, fast striker. And he's got the grappling as well. Who did he Kimura someone looked awesome. I can't think who it was.
Oh, Bagovic Stafarov. You did that on purpose, just had to say it.
Sounded pretty good, bro. You sounded almost Russian then.
Now
that was a sick fucking move, hey. And that was against that guy was like a Sambo expert, so it wasn't bad. And yeah, he just looks so slick, right? He looks like such a natural athlete, man. And I'd say with a guy like that, I just feel like his biggest enemy or biggest, issue is probably his mind, I don't know, just get a feeling about that from him, maybe I'm completely off track, but I just feel like he seems to have all the skills you need, and the only thing that could kind of go against him would be his mind, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I definitely remember it was the OSP fight. I'm not sure if it was the Shogun real fight as well, but he like had him hurt, and then he was pretty much on the path to winning, and he just made like a few little mistakes which cost him, sort of thing. But I think with all this time off obviously comes like experience and stuff like that. So I think we're going to see like Tyson Pedro 2.0 sort of thing. So I'm very excited to like see him get through this and then see what's next from him and start seeing him climb the sort of light heavyweight rankings.
Yeah, man, if you look at it, at Pedro's record, he's only got 10 fights for 7 wins, mostly subs, but he's fought some decent guys, right? Like Mauricio Shogun Rua, OSP, although he did lose to Rua. But yeah, OSP, Safarov, like you mentioned, Paul Craig, that was a good one too. Like he controlled him on the ground.
That win aged well too, yeah.
Exactly, like he's a good grappler, and he out-grappled him, right? And Khalil Roundtree Jr. has also been a decent fighter these days, and he smashed him as well and hit the rear naked choke, one of Mr. Colby Thicknesse's favorite submission.
My go-to.
That's it, man. Speaking of you, what I was just looking at you before while I was waiting. You had how many? You had like 4. Was it 4 rear naked chokes on your record? Yeah,
I think so, something like that. Yeah. 4, yeah.
Decisions, 4 rear naked chokes, and 2 KOs. So you got to do 2 KOs to catch up the rest, man.
Yeah, exactly right. I need to keep it balanced like Thanos. Everything has to be perfectly balanced.
You don't want to be the guy that has one certain strength only. You want to be all round.
But it's good too because people get, when they see chokes, like, oh, we're just going to defend the chokes, and they sort of miss like the stand-up part of things. So I don't mind it, because then like even in my last fight, you could sort of see where they were real worried about the grappling strings. That's why it worked. It was like fake the takedown, drop the hands, and throw the shot over the top. So it's good sort of if you can use that sort of stuff and play with it. Like you just don't, obviously if you have lots of subs, people are going to be threatening, but you just don't want to chase the subs. Like you got that threat there. So you want to be able to use the threat to mix up other threats and that sort of thing.
Yeah, man. Hey, sorry, before we go and chat about random shit, just thinking about, so what's your final prediction for Pedro? You mentioned submission, you think, or what do you feel?
Yeah, I think he's got to be careful in the first round, and I think second round he probably gets him down, and yeah, I reckon early in the second round he's going to get the sub, and because he's got 3 rear nakeds, we'll say he's going to go for 4. He's going to take his back and choke him out, I think.
Yeah, man, I feel like he's a superior athlete in every way when you watch the way they both move. So I think he's also got a good chance of a KO. But the one factor here that we're not counting on is he's coming back from injury. His last fight was a while back. He's got to have that issue in his mind, like how he's going to – that was in 2018. So 3 years out of the game, ring rust could be a factor. There could be some psychology around his injury, etc. So I'm thinking he's going to take it too. But again, being the moron that I am, if I was betting, I'd bet Villanueva first round KO. just because it must be like, I don't know, it must be like 20 to 1 or something.
Yeah, I reckon we're paying decent.
It's 4.7 to 1 just for him to even win. So if you throw the KO, it's got to at least be 10 to 1, right? Like, I don't know. Always chasing along odds, always losing.
Double down, eh?
That's
Chase a loss.
So yeah,